Hello, dear listener. My name is Silas Rose, and this is Awakened Relationship. So you might have noticed it's been a while since I last published an episode. I started Awakened Relationship right at the beginning of the pandemic, back in March of 2020. And I have to say that 2022 was really kind of a bookend to the whole COVID experience, kind of filled with lots of pent-up energy and unexpected sudden shocks. I know a lot of people personally that just sort of felt like the ground fell out beneath them last year, coming out of the harshest of the COVID restrictions and into this kind of weird liminal state where things haven't really returned to normal, but still there was more freedom. For me, it was an opportunity to kind of make a big move. For a long time, I really wanted to live in the country and start a retreat center. I was really craving some peace and solitude after 2 years of real high stress. I'd found my dream home. The problem was when I got there, I had this sudden realization that it was the wrong dream. As someone that's practiced mindfulness and personal inquiry for a long time, it was somewhat of a shock, actually a big shock, that I could miss the mark so profoundly. Moving to a new home is really one of the biggest decisions you can make. I really thought I was following my heart, but actually, in retrospect, it really seems the opposite was true. I ignored the warning signs and got myself into a bit of a pickle, which turned into a dark night. At the time, it really felt like I kind of blown up my life for no good reason. But looking back on this experience now, I really see that it brought a lot of clarity to two sometimes polar opposite archetypes inside me, which I identify as the monk and the lover. The monk really ran the show for a long time in my life. Actually, that was not a bad thing, especially in my youth. It really helped me to cultivate discipline and focus. The lover's always been there. In the background, it's kind of an enigma. But more recently, I'd say in the last 5 years, has found a bit more expression in my life, and this podcast is definitely part of that. It's really my growth edge, and as it turns out, moving to the country really doesn't nurture that part of me. After 2 years of social distancing and disconnection, the lover in me was really freaking out. So I did something quite radical. I pulled up stakes and moved back to the city, which turned out to be a really good decision. The last few months have really been about reconnecting to the people and place I love. Victoria is such a God realm, in all the best ways, a city of Gandharvas. I feel a renewed sense of inspiration about Awakened Relationship. So this seems like a really good time to start Season 2 of the podcast, which unofficially might be called the Art of Reconnecting. I've said a few times on the show that I really feel that our society has been social distancing for a while, long before COVID. As the pandemic recedes into the background, I think what's really become clear over the past 2 or 3 years is that there really is an epidemic of loneliness and disconnection, and I fear it might get worse before things get better. It's a complex and really kind of fundamental problem that's at the core of many of the existential challenges of our time. One might see the climate crisis or the rise of authoritarianism and political polarization as the end result of a series of broken relationships. There's no single cause for this kind of breakdown, but I really do feel that how we engage with our technology is kind of an accelerant that enables and even rewards antisocial behavior, and in general makes us lazy when it comes to attending to the relationships that matter most. I don't know about you, but I feel my own social fitness has suffered in the last 3 years, and a lot of that's due to screen time. In the current economy, attention is our greatest asset. As a meditator, I find it kind of odd to speak about attention as a form of value, but I think it's helpful to explain what's really driving the loneliness epidemic right now. The pandemic really jacked our screen time, on average up to about 11 hours a day, which seems outrageous, but if you actually take a look at your own use of devices, you might be a little bit shocked. It's a lot of attention credits spent in virtual spaces. If you're a parent or run a business, you know that really attention is a finite resource and there's really less of it available at the end of the day for the embodied relationships and activities that really fill your heart. If you're listening to this podcast, I'm sure you know that any healthy relationship really requires our full presence. So how we engage with technology really matters. And I really feel mindfulness and the art of reconnecting is a big part of that, which I'll be exploring more in Season 2. COVID-19 in some sense was kind of a dress rehearsal, a sneak peek into a possible future where life could be lived almost exclusively online. It was an interesting experiment, but I don't think it made people very happy. Humans are essentially herd animals. We thrive in social groups. It's through connection that we discover something fundamental in ourselves, what makes us human, which in the Buddhist tradition we talk about as awakened heart, or basic goodness. It takes a lot of bravery these days to turn towards connection. How often do we avoid the eyes of a stranger by turning towards a device, or just staying home for Netflix and chill instead of going out and connecting with friends? These are choices we make in the moment that actually have big consequences. If we want a more sane and compassionate society, we're going to have to build it, one relationship at a time. So showing up with our full presence really matters. So I want to thank you, dear listener, for showing up for this episode, and hope you'll stay tuned. I'm really excited to see how Season 2 unfolds. I also have a new course set to launch this spring with Awakened Relationship favorite, Susan Gillis Chapman. It's called Rude Awakenings, Navigating the Bardos of Everyday Life. It seems like so many people I know right now are in some kind of big transition in their life. And speaking personally, I know how ungrounding that can feel. It's in these gaps that we really meet our mind and meet the demons of fear and doubt. So if you're going through some kind of major life event right now, that could be an illness or a loss of a job or a partner, or maybe you're just trying to orientate to a post-COVID world, this course is really a Buddhist guide to meeting those big, tectonic life transitions with bravery and compassion. If you read the 5 Keys of Mindful Communication or perhaps tuned into some of the previous episodes with Susan, you know that she brings a lot of depth of practice and heart to her teaching. If you want to learn more and sign up, you can head over to awakenedrelationship.com. I always really love hearing from my audience. So if you have any suggestions or feedback regarding the show, or perhaps have a suggestion for a future guest, you can reach me through the contact page of the website, or through Instagram, or LinkedIn. So again, thank you, dear listener, for tuning in. Till next time, stay connected.